sometimes I'm like, I wish more people were a bit selfish.
They've seen my last 3 years or something. They didn't see the moves before.
I guess I know I'm ready when I feel like I'm starting to like live it instead of just doing it.
That's my favorite part of writing and producing for other people.
Like a challenging.
Yeah.
If you're an artist or creator who feels like they need some inspiration with a project, is maybe struggling on which way to go next in terms of what they choose to put their focus on, or just want some fuel for their work, then I've really built this video for you. I've consciously gone back over my script a couple of times and made sure that every point that I'm offering in this video is clear and has a valuable and properly powerful takeaway in it. So I hope that's how you feel when you watch it. And with that said, let's jump in.
You know what I hate? Great. When artists put a snippet up of a song on the internet and wait to see how people react to it, and let the crowdsourcing of opinion dictate if they're gonna put that out.
So the first of these points I want to jump into is going to be from Tyler, and this one felt kind of clear and powerful when it came to me, because I think it's something that I needed to hear too, to be honest. So it goes as simple as this: you don't have to have an unhealthy relationship with social media.
I know it's a lot of people who will work on something, and then because of the time we live in, you'll post it on Instagram and no one will really say anything, and then you're like, but it's like, dude, you're just building a resume. Like, that's okay.
We're forgetting about wrapping our ego up really tightly with our social media presence. We're forgetting about our desire to maybe care about it too much, or to say we don't care about it at all. And we're just going to try and use it with that practitioner's mindset, where we see it as the tool that it is.
With everything dropping on Fridays and clips and our attention span and emails, and you got to feed your dog, dude, people don't got time to remember that I dropped an album or a new song or anything. So it is my job as an artist to not only put my stuff out there, but also, hey y'all, by the way, I put new stuff out, I put this out, and that shit should keep going for months after.
It can be so easy to get wrapped up in those ideas where we start to connect our identity to our online personas, or we start to feel like maybe we're being narcissistic or shameful about the way that we're dealing with social media. But as Tyler's personality has met social media, he's developed what strikes me as a really healthy relation to it, where all this kind of psychodrama around it being toxic, or me being too embroiled in it, me being too this and that with it, has just not come into play for him.
I don't give a what someone else is complaining about, because I have my own life, and I'm okay with being fully selfish with what the I got going on. And sometimes I'm like, I wish more people were a bit selfish rather than doing a performative, I give a fuck, I care shit.
I hate the performative.
Because it's like, don't you have shit to do? I have too much shit to do to really sit there and like do a whole Instagram post about what some other did.
But what about the moment?
Tyler demonstrates to us that we can step out of those weighty stories that we can sometimes take on around how social media, putting our work out in this, engaging in this way, has to lead us into some sort of shameful or toxic space, when actually it doesn't. And you can just view these things as tools.
And I hope the kids that's making music, or the people, the adults that's making music, don't let these numbers with their creativity and things like that, because it's so many people like Hall & Oates who didn't pop until their fourth album, and who is really important. It's the Ramones who flopped 1,000 times.
Right.
So I hope the kids that's watching this shit, or the adults watching this that's 40 that wants to start a clothing line or sew clothes or make carpets or whatever, don't allow the numbers and the metrics that is so important now to fuck up what can end up being one of the greatest things ever.
So for the next piece of advice, I wanted to jump into thinking about kind of the other side of that output that we've been talking about, and using stuff like social media to get our work out. And I wanted to think about all the stuff that comes before that, and that kind of private creative process side where we actually learn and build these things. So here I'm going to pull in an interview with the artist Rosalía. Now, in quite a lot of my previous videos on this channel, I've looked at the idea of the importance of maintaining some privacy as an artist, or maybe thinking about the times when we do and don't share our work. And in this interview, there's a discussion of these ideas around the importance of sometimes pulling away in order to really get stuck in to creating valuable work.
And you took 2021 for the most part.
Yes.
And you blocked us out.
It took me forever to get the mixes exactly what I wanted it to be. It took 9 months or something, I don't know how many.
Just to mix the record.
I just, I feel like I don't feel I'm late if I'm going on my own rhythm.
I do.
You could feel like that at some point. You feel like, oh, everybody's moving. There's so many things happening, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, whatever. I have my own rhythm. And I want to do an album in my own terms. I don't want to do it in whatever way. It needs to be precise, focused. I needed to connect with the urge. I didn't want to make an album just because now is the time to make an album. No, I don't work like that.
Another great thing that we can see explored in this interview are the myths and fantasies that are often told around the fast successes of artists. Now, sometimes there are odd stories of breakthroughs at an early state in someone's kind of creative career, but usually the success that we see as the public is the very end of a long process of learning and creative progression.
I think that people sometimes they've seen my last 3 years or something. I felt them around. I felt that they've seen how I was moving, but they didn't see the moves before. And I had the opportunity to do other albums before Los Angeles, but I didn't want to do it because I knew I wasn't ready. I didn't know what I wanted to explain yet, how I wanted to explain it. And I was like, oh, I don't know, Rihanna, or I don't know how many artists that I love, they started their career much earlier. But for me, I knew that it was different.
Yeah.
And I accepted it from the beginning.
It
I was
maybe
like,
helped.
okay.
That maturity maybe helped.
I think it helped me to not do an album that I didn't want to do.
So this is a clear point that I want to put down here. Just acknowledging that when we see creative products that artists might put out, what we're actually seeing there is the very tip of that iceberg, and what we're not seeing is all that stuff underneath that has led to that moment. The mindset around this is one that just paints our creative practice as part of our lifestyle. And importantly, if you can find something that you would do anyway, whether you got outside validation for it or not, that's really going to set you up for putting that time and investment in, and also just enjoying it.
I guess I used to think I did. I used to think, oh, I make this so I could, when I was younger, whatever. Meet girls, go play shows, travel the world. And then in lockdown, I was sitting there thinking, okay, there's no shows, nothing's happening. I'm probably not going to make music anymore then, because all the things that I'm getting from it, I'm not going to get anymore. And I was surprised in myself that I just didn't stop. And more I was able to just create solely for myself. And this album is probably the purest that's been, because when I was making it, there was no promise of shows or release or whether people will still show up for me, because I've been gone for a minute. So it was if I'm making this, I was aware in my head, I was if I'm making this, I'm only making this for myself.
Loyle Carner talks about how the album he wrote in lockdown, the one that wasn't burdened by his thoughts around what other people might think, actually became a place where he could explore a new level of honesty and authenticity in his work.
It's just I wanted to express a 360 of myself and the beauty in the ugliness at times, because I think I always used to try and put my best foot forward and be squeaky clean and be like, oh, everything's fine, I'm a lovely guy. And that's not a lie, I'm a nice guy. But that's not the 360. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has the potential to be good and bad. Some days they're positive, some days they're negative. And it was refreshing for myself to let out some of the uglier parts of myself.
100%.
So by focusing on a writing exercise that actually came from his internal motivation, as opposed to thinking about the opinions of others, Carner was actually able to grasp a new dimension of honesty within his work. To further explore what that healthy mindset might look like in other artists. I want to bring in a clip from FKA Twigs.
My favourite motto is preparation plus opportunity equals success.
When did you read that for the first time? Or hear about it?
I've been thinking about that since I was a teenager. Preparation. Sure, I'm starting rehearsals today to refine everything, but the preparation for this tour has been like...
Years.
Yeah, well, for this, I'd say like a year long. So I'm just not stressing because I know that I know it all. Do you know what I mean? I know it's all in there. There's some revisions from like the first Magdalene tour, but the practice means that the like recall is sharp and we're all tight as a band. We know all the music.
So here, FKA Twigs talks about a really important concept, which is the idea of focusing on preparation and a mindset that we might call the beginner's mind, or something that's based on learning. When I was in my early 20s myself, I started to learn how to be a teacher. Now, I'm not someone who was naturally felt comfortable in front of a class and had a huge amount of nervousness. But over quite a long period, what I realised was that if I took the energy of that nervousness and I turned that into preparation, then that actually left me in a space when I got into that moment where I felt that I'd done my best in terms of preparing for it, and slowly began to build more and more confidence.
I have like my, like strings to my bow, you know, and I train a lot, and when a sort of baby comes into its time, then I know that it's time to like put that thing into the world.
It's hard to know when that line is though, isn't it? Because you can always improve in these things, and there are masters at it. There are people who are like so incredibly good at it that they ultimately spend their entire life focusing on this stuff. And to know when you want to go out there and present that and put it in front of, you know, the world on, you know, Jimmy Fallon, which was incredible. That performance was so unbelievable and it showed real skill. But how do you know when you're ready, when you're learning something like that?
Well, I think you're constantly learning, you know, like, I guess I know I'm ready when I feel like I'm starting to like live it instead of just doing it, like when I can take risks.
This kind of buzzword around mindset is used quite a lot, but what is great about the idea of cultivating a certain preparation or learning-based mindset to our work is that if we continue to do this over time, then we can really grow a long history of good preparation and good learning behind our practice, to the point where we can start to feel really, really competent in the work that we do. In that interview, FKA Twigs is also talking about the importance of being curious and maintaining an open mind. And those two ideas for me definitely connect a lot of really successful or great artists. Now, this open-mindedness isn't just some kind of wishy-washy soft topic here. What we're talking about is an inherent skill that we can cultivate that's going to allow us to bend genres perhaps in an interesting way, or bring together two other styles of work and present it in our own original manner.
A lot of times, you know, an artist will say, man, that's a little different for me or whatever. And then I'll go ahead and reference it and, you know, sell it to someone else. And then like oftentimes that same person will come back to me and say, man, why didn't you play me that? And I'm like, I did play you that, but they weren't hearing it in that way.
Wow, that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the fun part. But then there are people who jump out the window and they go ahead and try it. Because my whole thing is just try it. We don't have to put it out.
Right.
But, you know, people are so good at what they do, sometimes they're afraid to explore different parts of their voice, different parts of their personality, and different parts of their career. So, you know, they're a little like hesitant. But for the ones that do try it, they get to experience something new. And look, if we decide at the end of the day it's just not right for them, it's not right for them.
Right.
But you got to hear a different side. That's my favorite part of writing and producing for other people.
Like a challenging.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that clip from the discussion between Pharrell and RM when thinking about this idea of the importance of open-mindedness for artists. As a younger person, I think I might have been put off of such commercial genres like the kind of K-pop that BTS represent. But over time, and with some help of some friends and close people who really love K-pop, I've been able to kind of drop that defense barrier that I have against it and hold space for maybe something that I need to be aware of around how deeply linked it is to commercial concerns, but also have the space to recognize some of the artists within it as properly interesting and valuable, and enjoy some of what comes out of it.
When I first listened to your song, especially, I just want to point out "Take It Off," because that's my playlist, one of the playlists.
Whoa,
so
that's crazy.
When I listened to it, I even translated it into Korean, and I just recorded once when I was an amateur.
Whoa.
So I always wanted to have the frequency like you. Like, you know, sometimes it's just singing. You could be falsetto. Sometimes you rap. Sometimes you just sang the hook for the audio artist, like Snoop Dogg. And so, how do you position yourself when you participate in the song as a player?
I make decisions based off of feeling. I don't make them based off of convention.
I gotta rap, I gotta sing.
Yeah, no, it's just whatever it feels like it needs.
Yeah, so this is actually turning out to be a really long video. I hope you're getting something from it. I hope you're enjoying it. And I just wanted to take a little breather in the middle, just for a few seconds, just to say thanks for watching. Do be sure to check out some of the links in the description if you might be interested in watching any of the videos that I've used in this, or checking out other Creative Mind stuff. And with that said, we're gonna jump into the next point, which is taken from an interview with Danny Brown.
Chat, let's get him, Danny! Hypnotized like stammer straight into a serpent eyes. When it all in the bags, it's like them fries at Five Guys. My eye size is pint size, blind off the Mai Tai. Maui Wari karate chop, slump lane aside.
Cause there was times where we was working, and we probably worked for a weekend and made one song.
Yeah,
and it wasn't necessarily because it was working, it's because I was fucking doing bumps, drinking, wilding out. Then here come to Austin. Then we'll be working, and I might get into a beef with my girl or some shit. Then now I'm just sitting around just sad all day, just talking about my girl with him. And the thing is about Peggy is that's what a lot of producers need to have with certain artists. He had patience with me, man. He just let me rock. Yeah. Cause it got to the point where he was like, you know, when we got deep into it, we started working on the project, and it was like, and I was like, man, I can't drink no more, man. I ain't drinking. And then we remember when we came, and then I did maybe 6 or 7 verses one day.
You knocked out like 7 songs in a day.
Sober. You get what I'm saying? Because it was building up to that.
It's funny because those are the songs that you did. Those are all the ones that are like the ones I'm picking as the singles and like.
That don't make me feel proud about myself.
No, I'm just saying it's interesting. It's just a
the one sober day I worked. Those were the good songs.
No, all of them are good. But I'm just saying those ones had a different kind of feel. They have like a we in front feel.
So yeah, I wanted to drop that clip in from Danny Brown, because not only do I love him as an artist, and actually think that if you look into his trajectory, it's got a lot to teach young artists coming through, but also because it demonstrates a really clear and simple message that I wanted to say in this video, which is that if you want to make your best work as an artist, you need to take care of yourself in terms of your mental health. Now, please don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to create some kind of dodgy wellness message within this video. All I'm saying is, really, when we think about, ideas that are coming from our mental space, then we can see just good mental health and trying to create practices around that as something that can be a real force multiplier across the years that we're going to be engaged in our creative process and making things.
It's just good to be back out. It's just different now being all sober and shit. I guess it's easier, to be honest, because I was just making shit harder on myself. I haven't been nervous or anything, to be honest. So it kind of been easier. I mean, it's just less stress. I mean, I thought, you think you're making shit easier, but just making shit harder, to be honest. It's like putting a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of shit you have no control over, so why fucking stress yourself out about it? Some of the worst shit you possibly been through in your life at that time, you look back, you're like, that was fucked up, but then you realize how good it was for you. So I just never let myself get down on that kind of shit now,
I have quite a few videos on my channel looking at ways that we can, try and manage these aspects of mental health in relationship to our creative practice. But yeah, putting importance on that aspect of your experience is going to be valuable in terms of multiplying your ability to put good energy and time into your creative work. And let's be honest as well, hopefully enjoy that process more and get more satisfaction from whatever it is you're creating.
I wasn't funny no more. I wasn't happy no more. So that obviously was something that was going on in my personal life, you know, which I figured, you know, like I say, I just wanted to get back to work. I wanted to put an album out, and for the most part, man, just sometimes having somebody to talk to, man, is the best thing you can have, man. So love y'all fuckers.
So yeah, taking some of them sentiments forward from that story from Danny Brown, I wanted to move into a clip that I only decided very recently to put into this video. And it's a clip from the creator of Chicken Shot Date, as she talks about some understanding that she's really had to develop in order to manage her own relationships within her work.
One moment that really stuck out to me is actually when one of my producers handed in their notice to go and start her own agency. Fair play. I was like, great. And I was floored. I couldn't believe that someone this good would leave me. And that's when I actually spoke to my dad about it. And I never talked to my dad really about anything to do with my work and stuff. I mean, he's interested, but he doesn't give me advice. And I called him and I told him about what happened. And he said something actually kind of good. He said, the best people will always leave. And I was like, because they are ambitious.
Because they're the best people,
and they're the best people, and they're going to leave because they want to do other things. And that was really good for me to know, because it has now prepared me that, yeah, I might be working with these amazing people now and they might leave me, and that's okay because I'll be able to find someone else. And I think that's been really useful for me, and it's made me more confident in like things changing.
So yeah, I just really loved that and thought that it was worthy and clear to put in this video, trying to remove the pressures or awkwardness around that and just recognize that, you know, as individuals, we might change and we might want to, you know, come together or move apart and do our own stuff. And that doesn't have to be some huge or awkward thing. I really thought that message was just quite a valuable one to reflect on, that this just doesn't all have to be so deep all the time. After doing the research for this video, I had a few ideas that I just wanted to put in at the end here. And it kind of sits within this framework of feeling a bit lost in our creative practices. Because when I thought about that and reflected on my own experiences, I recognised that actually, in a way, feeling lost was kind of part of it. For me at least, the trajectory of my creative projects throughout the last decade has in absolutely no way been a straight line. Whether it's just my personality or something to do with how my attention works, the way that I've always learned in which direction I want to go is often by trial and error. So in the last 10 or 15 years, no exaggeration to say that I reckon I've probably gone through putting some fairly serious time investment into maybe 20 or 30 different kind of creative projects. Now that's not going to be everyone's experience, but for me, it's got me to a place where I've actually learned a lot of different skills as my road has taken me into different areas, different kinds of creative process.
I made this when I was a student. If you look at this block vertically as like your obstacle, there's a mentality just to go straight through it and thinking that that's the straightest route, that's going to be the most efficient. There's another way, which is sort of going the long, hard, roundabout way, which is 10 times longer, but actually ends up getting to your end result. That looks more like my career on the right. And I don't care about when, I just care about if I get there or not. And that long winding road that I don't know if I'm going towards B, I don't know if I'm going the right direction, but I'm learning all the way through, failing all the way through, actually makes my career today.
Coming back to that idea of mindset, it's not something personally that I see, is a journey that's stopping. And, recently I been reading about David Hockney, who's a painter, who's still developing and, going on deep into his 80s. Right, that's my advice done. But if you have the time to kind of add anything below in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. If you did enjoy this piece and could do one thing for me, then I'd ask you to share it with another creator or just a friend, or drop it into a WhatsApp group or whatever works. And with all that said, thanks again for watching. Peace in whatever you're working on at the moment. And yeah, good luck this week.
Roy's
about the sludge just to speak this. They knock with dust, trying to land a punch on the phoenix. The talk hens teeth. My speech rustle like a breeze under dead leaves. It's a blend.